Well, hey everybody, we're back. This is Photoshop User TV. I am Pete Collins, one of the Photoshop guys here with Corey Barker.
Hello.
And we are so glad to be here with you. We are Photoshop User TV and we are sponsored by Kelby One, the fine makers of Photoshop User, the magazine, as Corey so greatly holds up and shows us about it. And we're just excited that you're going to be here with us today, and we've got some great tutorials for you. Corey?
That's
How are
right.
you doing?
Actually, we're again, like Pete said, we're super excited. Great things happening at Kelby One. Of course, if you are previously a NAT member or Kelby training member, we are all part of the same family now. We always were. We just made it official. So,
Kissing cousins got married.
exactly. All right. So we are going to jump right in. And Mr. Pete Collins has got something pretty cool. I think you remember last week he started something with the cool background. Defining patterns effects. He's taken that even a step further, I think.
Well, I was talking about how to use images that you found that can help inspire you to create different things. And this was the image that I found to begin with that really had a cool background. And I showed you the beginnings of making a pattern that you could create your own background. Well, this time, what I want to talk to you about is how to create the shelves that go on a background. And here's another little tip for you while I'm looking at this. If you ever want to do kind of a compare and contrast, make sure that things are looking the way they are. If you just come up to arrange and you've got these different things here, what if I do two up vertically? Now I can take the original here. As a matter of fact, I don't need to even have that much of it, but I'm just going to put that over here. And now I could start working on this right over here and compare to that over there. Now, I don't want to do an exact copy of this, so I just want to show you that as a tip. So what I'm going to do is kill that one. And now here's a background that I have right here that I wanted to start building my own shelves with this. And as I looked at it, it was really only a couple quick shapes to make those shelves. And so what you're going to want to do is create a new blank layer, come over, and I'm just going to use my rectangular marquee tool. And actually, before I even finish that, I'm going to come over and pull up my rulers because this is all going to be about keeping it nice and symmetrical. And so I'm just going to pull out some grid marks. And what I'm going to do is, because I've got my pixels set up, I'm just going to go to the 200 pixel here and then 100 pixel there. This will vary according to how you want it to look. So these are not dead set, measurements for you. As long as they are consistent on both sides, that's really what's going to matter for this. But so I'm just going to lay out these guidelines for me here. All right. And so now I'm going to take and I'm going to create a shelf. And this is going to be the front edge of the shelf. And so I'm just going to make sure I have my snap set on. Yes, I do. And I'm going to draw from here. And I'm just going to make a selection all the way across. And the great thing is snap is going to kind of let it lay in right there in between those two guidelines. I'm looking at the outside guidelines, not the inner. And then I'm just going to fill this with a color. So I'm going to go Shift, Delete, bring up my fill dialog, and I want to fill this with white. I hit OK, and then I'm going to hit Command or Control D to deselect that selection. Now I have this one white bar right here. That's the beginning of the shelf. Well, I know I want to create 4 shelves for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply hold my Alt or Option button while I still have my Move tool selected. And what happens is my icon, I don't know if you can see it, as soon as I hit my Alt or Option button and hover over that bar, it gives me the double arrow, and I can simply drag down and it makes a copy of that bar. If I hold Shift while I'm doing that, it's going to stay locked into these grids as well, these guidelines. I release, now I have 2 layers. Each one of them right there, I hold Alt or Option again and drag down again. I make a 3rd and then a 4th. Well, so that's pretty good, but what I want to do is I want to make sure these shelves are evenly spaced. Well, the trick here is to simply take and put the final shelf, holding down Shift so it stays in the guides, where I want it to end, and I make sure the top shelf is where I want it to begin. So I'm just going to right-click, choose Layer 1, and bring that up here. Now, because I have these 4 layers, I'm going to highlight each of them, make sure they're all selected, and then I'm simply going to come over here to my alignment icons, and I'm going to hit this one, which is right in the middle, and it is to align the center of all these horizontally. Distribute vertical centers, and I hit it, and now each one of these is perfectly spaced right across from each other. Now you're sure that each one of your shelves is where they need to be. Next, when you look at the original, it's just simply taking, and now you're just going to create, I'm going to
3D?
Yeah, you could do this in 3D, and Corey would already be done and drinking a Mai Tai somewhere. But this is old school 2D. I'm going to take and just create a new rectangular marquee. I'm going to fill it once again, but this time I'm probably going to fill it with 50% gray. The reason why I'm going to do that is so that you can see the transition difference. Now that I've got that, actually I didn't need to undo the selection. I'm just going to hit Command or Control T. And I'm going to be able to adjust this up and down however I want. Oh, let me escape that for a second. I want to make copies of this as well. So I'm going to go up above using that same shortcut. And then this final one, I'm cheating and I'm going down beneath it. Okay, that's how I do a quick thing when I want to change each one of them. Make sure they have the same dimensions of each one of these shelves. Now I just need to change the perspective. Come back, pick Layer 2, Command or Control T, and I'm just simply going to choose perspective. What that's going to allow me to do is now bring in the angle of the shelf, and that's where these inner guides come into play. As long as I bring that perspective into that guideline there and hit return, that shelf is going to look right. If I come up to the next one and I hit Command or Control T and hit perspective, it's now going to be brought into the same thing. However, I want to make this look like I can see a little bit less of it because it's moving up higher. So I'm going to go back to free transform and I'm just going to drag this down. But you see what happened? As long as I do that, it's not going to work and line up. So what I'm going to do is come back here and I'm going to do a free transform, Command or Control T, bring this down to the size I want first. Now I right click and do perspective and drag that in and hit return. Let's try that again and make sure it does it with both sides of it. Escape, pick that one, Command or Control T, bring that down, right click, let's do perspective, grab that, bring it in, and now return. And you can see how the shelves start to progress visually up. And it's very simple to do that. Now all I need to do is add a little gradient to it, and then finally add at the bottom, I'd come into each one of these, and the nice thing is you don't have to do it once, is I would create a new blank layer, come over here, choose gradient, make sure it's set for the first one, and it's black to transparent, and I'm just going to bring it down like this, shift. And now the nice thing is because I've created a nice drop shadow here, I can, as long as I've got this transform handle right here, Command or Control T, I can perspective this and just pull it out as if the light is causing the shadow to kind of cause the shadow to flare out like it would naturally. Command D, and there is my shadow underneath the shelf. I'd probably just drop the opacity a little. I could even add a little Gaussian blur. But once you clear the guides, you've already got your way on to creating some great shelves that you can add to your backgrounds. It would just be a matter of adding some more gradients and a little blending mode, and your shelves would look phenomenal right there on that screen. So it's just a couple rectangles, understanding how to use your perspective, and you can knock that out in no time.
He achieved 3D without 3D.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break. Come right back. I've got a little something, and we got some other more cool news things.
That was clear as mud. Yes.
We'll be right back. I have something cool coming up right here. Hi everyone, welcome back to Photoshop User TV. We are going to continue on with more Photoshop cool stuff, but first, Pete's got to tell us a little bit about something that's going on right now.
Right now. This is the first week of CC month. We're in the Creative Cloud month here on Kelby One. We've got new classes rolling out each and every weekday, covering basic to advanced skills and techniques in the Creative Cloud programs. Class schedule is available at kelby1.com/CC month. So make sure you go over there and check it out.
Of course, there's classes by myself, Pete, and the rest of the Photoshop guys, Scott, Matt,
You can just
RC.
stop there, me and you.
We're plenty, but we got a lot of great classes over there. Be sure to check it out, of course. Now, continuing on. You had another point?
Well, I was just going to throw it to you so you wouldn't have to jump in on yourself.
please.
But
Yes,
hey, Corey,
yeah.
you got a tutorial for us
Set
now?
me up, Pete. Yes, I do. Actually, really fun thing. There's a Photoshop World instructor. His name's Alan Hess, and he's a concert photographer. Great guy. He's really a spectacular instructor. They do this pre-con at Photoshop World where they have, they actually do a concert, and they actually do a concert shoot and everything like that. But he did a concert not too long ago, and he shot The Who. Now,
Who?
who's The Who?
Who are you?
Who is that? No. He did The Who, and one of my favorite bands of all time, of course. And I'm looking through his portfolio, and I saw several images, and I saw this one of Pete Townshend, and I was like, that is a cool shot. I mean, it alone really needs no work. It's a really cool shot in and of itself. But just wanted to show you some things you can do if you have concert photography that maybe you're not particularly thrilled about. Here's a couple of things you can do to it to spice it up. And this is what I did with this one because I liked the image so much. But first off, I want to change it from looking like a photograph. I want it to have more, almost like an illustrated feel about it. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can go about doing that in Photoshop. Here's a few methods that I found just through some experimentation. Go to the filter menu and go down here to texture and choose grain. Now, you have a number of different grain options right here when you go to grain type. You have regular, soft, and all of them do something rather interesting. In many cases, they're pretty useless. Like contrast, that actually makes them build it. If you're going to make an image worse, then certainly go for that. But what I like actually is this very last one at the bottom. It's called speckle. Now, if you go in here and play with the intensity and contrast settings, you can actually achieve some rather interesting looks on here. Now, what I've discovered is, and this is something I always tell people when you're playing with filters in Photoshop, is look at if there's a slider, go in there and whip that slider all the way down to the max setting and all the way back to the 0 settings. And if there's multiple sliders, slide them all.
Right.
Slide them all over the place. So what I did was I took the intensity down and brought the contrast way up. And you can see it gives me really high contrast result. It's like, but what if I did it the other way? If I brought the intensity up and the contrast down? Now it actually gives me something really interesting. Look at the texture it's giving me on his suit and everything like that. I mean, if I were to turn off the preview here, there's the original. But now it's giving me a little bit of an illustrated grain to it, like as a texture of paper that it's printed on or something like that. But up in the face, however, it's destroying it. It's pretty much making it, not as good. So I'm going to bring the intensity down a little bit. I'm going to leave the contrast to 0, but I'm going to bring the intensity down so it brings out more of the face there. Now, I am not worried about it bringing back too much because I'm going to do something else to help that. So I'll click OK, and I've got a pretty interesting result there. Not too bad, but why stop there? Now we're going to go to the filter again, and this time go to Artistic and choose Cutout. Now you might be thinking, well, it's overriding the previous filter, or it's making it look even worse. Well, not necessarily, because what I'm going to do is actually go and play with the different number of levels. I'm actually going to leave it at 6, but you can play with edge simplicity and notice it will smooth out and make it even more simplistic. And of course, if that's what you're going for, that's great, but I'm going to keep it around 3. And then I'm going to go and leave the edge fidelity where it's at. Now, looks like it's kind of muddying it out, but this isn't where I'm going to stop with this filter. And this is one of the cool things about filters in Photoshop, as I click OK, is if I go under the Edit menu, and it's the very last thing, or it's only available the moment you apply a filter. If you are, of course, using smart objects, you can do it as a smart filter and do it all you want. But in this case, it's only available after you've applied it. So go under Edit and choose Fade Cutout. Now, essentially, this is undo on a slider with blend modes. So you can actually bring the opacity of the effect down, and it lessens the visibility of the filter, not the image itself, but only the filter. But in this case, I want to change the blend mode to something like overlay. And you can see what it's done. It's really enhanced the texture. In fact, overlay probably is a bit much. I'm going to go with soft light. Yeah, so allowing more of that detail. But even if that is still a little too intense, just bring that opacity down just a little bit. So it allows some of that lighter areas to come through. So now we'll click OK. So I've got something pretty interesting here. If I zoom in, and you can see the textures that are going on there. This is great, especially, now obviously this was a high-res image that I got from Alan, but I don't want to thank Alan for letting me use it. However, this is great if you have a very low-res photo and you want to blow it up to a size, and you're obviously going to have, a loss of quality.
You're already going to have some issues, so go ahead and use that to your advantage.
So you can use it to your advantage by applying it, and it will allow you to cheat bringing up the graphic, because it robs the image of detail but replaces it with this kind of stylized look of it. So there's a roundabout way of going out and increasing the size of your artwork. So if I wanted to bring this, and actually I wanted to do this in a more vertical, narrow format. If I'm just going to go ahead and bring this image as it is over to this document, it's going to drag and drop over there. We'll do Command T and this is where I also want to get creative with the cropping, because I just want to get enough of his face, and almost like it was a concert banner hanging on a light pole or something like that. You can almost do that, and even drop in, a little text, and just have The Who. So I mean, apart from it, it's still the same image. We've really maintained all the integrity of Alan's original shot. We've merely stylized it to the point where we can do more with it, and perhaps even apply a few more color effects. But it's all about experimenting. Again, with filters in Photoshop. There's so many of them, a lot of people just don't really go in there and play with them, but when you combine them and use those fade features like this, you can achieve some things that were perhaps not even thought possible with the filter alone.
Well, and I think people the whole idea of the blend modes of the fade filter is a key idea that I hope a lot of people took away from it, especially if you have been using that fade filter. Usually a lot of folks who haven't done a lot with smart objects, you can tell we're kind of old school. We like to go use that fade control because we've used it a lot, but you may skip over being able to use that blending mode, and that's huge right there. So that's a great tip.
All right, so we reached the end again.
We did.
Yes. All right, so we of course have another Peach Pit ebook deal, and once again it is Lindsay Adler's Creative 52 book, and you can go to it's peachpit.com/Kelby1 and go in and use the Kelby discount code Kelby1. And get 40% off the retail price of that ebook. It's a really great book by Lindsay Adler.
We love Lindsay. You definitely need to check it out because she's really trying to help you become creative and be focused on your projects. So make sure you check it out over at peachpit.com/Kelby1.
All right.
And hey, giveaway. What are we giving away this week?
Giveaway, you know what I have? Here.
Oh.
You can go ahead.
Hey, let me do that so it doesn't look quite so self-serving. Look at this. We're giving away this awesome book, Photoshop Down and Dirty Tricks. What's so neat about this is you could win this one this week, and in just a week or two, you could possibly win the next version.
Next one.
Look at how we're doing that. We're teasing you with this one.
And you certainly don't want one or the other. You need to have both.
You got to have both, because this one's a phenomenal book. I love this book, even though he wrote it. Awesome book, and number 2 is going to be just as awesome, so make sure you check it out. How do we win?
Exceptionally excited about this. All right, so how do you win? Go to kelby1.com/contest, go in here into the pull-down menu, choose Photoshop User TV, enter your name and email and everything that we can contact with you. There, your name is in the running for that really cool book that Pete was just holding. So that wraps it up. Once again, here on Photoshop User TV, I want to thank you guys for joining us. We will see you next time. All our friends at Kelby1. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.